Hello all, and welcome to Proudland. I'm your host, Roland. Sitting here digitally in my comfy chair with Proud. Proud, how are you?
I'm okay, man. I hate the new MMR system, honestly, or the new not the new MMR system, the new MM matchmaking.
Is it the geographic thing you hate? The geographic distance.
I loved it, and now it's bad.
Do you think what
happened?
Do you think it's just because you're losing that you have like negative association and that it's not bad?
I'm not even losing.
Well, you're not. You're not
positive win rate.
You have a positive win rate, but you're not like you went on this like crazy spree. And now you're kind of like starting.
No, you're not. I didn't even.
Did you not?
I got 5K, and then I lost, and then I won, then I lost, then I won, and then I got up to 5.1, and then I lost, and then I got up to 5.2, and then I lost, and it was fine. But just like the last few days, I don't know if something changed or just all of a sudden my luck has run out. But like every game I get, it's like a 15-point game or a 30-point loss, or a 15-point win or a 35-point loss. Like there's no middle ground. It's just tough. One or the other. I have like of my last 10 games, I've had only 3 of them have been within 20. Have been like a 20-point win or loss. It's absurd. I mean, within the 20s.
You're getting to that point, though.
25. Yeah.
You're getting to the point where it's hard.
I'm not, though. I'm really not.
No, it's hard to match. You're above the 99th percentile, so it's going to be harder to match you up. I mean, I remember because we always talk about StarCraft 2. I remember when I was high diamond, usually to find a match of StarCraft was like 30 seconds or less, but I was starting to get like 3-4 minute queue times when I was getting high diamond. I'm sure when you were in Masters, you were seeing 4, 5, 6, 7 minute queue times, which was crazy for StarCraft. It wasn't
that bad.
No, it's not that bad, but
okay, so
it goes to show that there's less players in the pool.
Bad queue times start once you're getting around at least they used to start when you were 55 plus, maybe around 6K. Like there's a lot of 5K players. It's not that crazy. And you may say there's not that many, but the fact is 5K players or 5K plus, they play a lot. They don't get that high not playing a lot of Dota.
Yeah.
And today was the rare time where I was like, all right, I'm actually going to queue before 2 a.m. So I woke up and it was like, all right, time to play some Doot. And I just first game, 15 points or a 32-point loss. Just wild shit, man.
Yeah.
Anyway.
2 wins and a loss, and
it wasn't
not even. Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah, 2 wins, a loss, and I come out even. The last game that I played was a 7-point win. How fucking absurd is that?
Yeah. No, I'll tell you, every single game I've played 300 ranked games now on this newest account. I haven't had a game that hasn't been 23 to 26. Every single game has been either a 23 win, 24 win, 25 win, or vice versa in the loss. It's so completely balanced, which I mean, it really does go. And I play at the same time you do. I have such a weird schedule. I'm the baby monitor during the night, so Andre can get a sleep. Now?
Oh,
yeah.
I thought you were the baby now.
I'm a baby.
You switched roles.
Yeah, no. Here pretty soon. I got my first laugh, which was actually I know people don't really care to hear about it, but it was a crazy moment to see I didn't do much, but this is my baby and it laughs. That's nuts.
I laugh.
I know, but it's just he's so young and he just went
I'm young.
And it was why do you see joy in this world? We're about to you're going to have a hard, I feel bad for bringing him into this.
You're going to have a bad life. What are you laughing about, kid? I'm going to be out of this shit before you are.
I like to look at him as John Connor, he'll lead the resistance, dude. That's what'll happen. I'm surprised Terminators haven't come back to try and kill my son while I, go away and, try and save him. And then we end up melting.
Yeah, I'm not going to make jokes about. I'm not going to make jokes about killing your son. I want you to
not jokes about killing my son. Not about Terminators being sent back in attempt to kill my son because he leaves the resistance when he's older.
I was going to riff on that.
Yeah,
and then make more jokes about me doing it. But
you were the Terminator. Oh, you could be. I mean, you would. Yeah, you've infiltrated my life. Yeah, who knows? You just happen to be playing Dota. You know that the child's going to be born. It would be the best Terminator to, wait and earn my trust before the child was ever even thought of. That's crazy.
You watch this Lone Druid Myco, and you're like, only a fucking machine could be microing the bear this well.
Go to Seattle with you, have a good time, hang out, become good friends. Oh yeah, Proud, come on over. You're in Utah, that's fine. Bam, he's a fucking Terminator. Yeah, that's actually
the long con.
Yeah, the really long couple year con. Hey, it could work. But then we just go to like a different parallel universe where John Connor would live, and then we'd have like a 7 movie series, and it was all shit except the first 2, Yeah. So anyway, probably had like one of the better days of my life recently. I have officially committed myself to Defense of the Patients, and I have the approval of my wife and her family, which is important. Had a sit down. The
entire Mormon Church.
No, they're cool. They're really cool. They are LDS, and they are very involved in the church, but they support. Like Audrey and I lived with each other out of wedlock for 6 years. I mean, that's something that isn't okay to an LDS family in most cases, but they were supportive for that. In that case, they were very supportive in us getting married, us having a child. Audrey's mom is a great grandma. She's not a great grandma. She's a great grandma. If you get what I mean. She goes by ZZ. She's great at being a grandma. She's not a great grandma.
Okay, glad we figured that one out.
Yeah, and so anyway, we had a sit down discussion because I had a job offer. I would have been starting a job tomorrow as a sales director for a Fortune 500 company. That's all I'm going to say because I don't really care to say what Fortune 500 company. But I did get a job offer at the start of December for a really good pay, and I turned it down. And I had that discussion with them today because they were under the impression that I was starting. Actually, today is technically when I'm starting. It would have been today. Would have been my first day. It would have been orientation, getting to know my team. I would have been a sales director. And yeah, I turned it down to do a Dota 2 podcast. And I have never been happier about it in my life. One day I'll go back to school. I don't know when, but that is a freeing thought to say, I don't know when, instead of making plans that get complex. So just so you guys know, this is my career now, and I've made that happen. This is what I will be doing with, I don't know, for, I don't know, maybe the next 10 years.
The remaining 20 minutes.
Who knows? Yeah, it's cool though to be able to say, look, I have officially made it to the point where I'm going to just do Defense of the Patients as my job, and I have a wife and a kid, and I'm going to do Dota content. Yeah, it's exciting. I don't know. It was and to have them to not mock it and to be like, you know what? I'm glad that you're not gonna, suck the D of the man, basically, and that you're gonna start your own business, and we believe in you. I literally got, we believe in you, and and it was like literally like a touching moment. I mean, these are people that, I mean, they're my family, but because of marriage, but never have I felt more included in a family, I guess I'll go ahead and say, and they've started listening to the podcast despite being LDS and all the strong language. That's how much they support me. So it's pretty damn cool. Yeah, I'm definitely fortunate.
Apparently they listened to me.
Well, at first they thought I was lying. They thought I was lying about this whole thing because they've never been out to the studio. They never really expressed any interest. And the first show that they download is Theorycraft Thursdays, and they're like, unless your voice changes a lot, that is not you. Why are you lying to us? And then I, of course, pulled out the iTunes and was like, look, this is how it works. It's a 4-man squad. We've got Sam in New York. We've got Greg in California. And then Denny and I here. And this is how we plan on doing it. And my father-in-law, he owns an oil company in Utah. And to get like his blessing on it. And he's like, this is what I did. So I started my own business, and it was different back when I was, your age, and I wish you all the luck in the world. And it was like, wow,
that's cool.
Yeah, it was a pretty amazing pretty amazing moment for them too. Because, you know, winning over your in-laws is hard enough as is, let alone telling them, I'm going to do a video game podcast for a living to support your daughter and your grandchild. And they're like, okay, yeah, no. But no, it actually went extremely well. So,
well, my thanks to them. If you are listening to this, I'm sorry, I'm a foul-mouthed boy.
I don't know if they actually. I mean, they're not going to get any of the concepts. I think they just wanted.
Okay.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No. I mean, yeah, I'm sure they just wanted to, you know, check it out, see how you're doing. But that's like cool. It's good to have supportive people, and I'm glad that it's working out, and they're good peoples.
Well, it took a couple of years of hard work for them. Like, it wasn't just that I was like, hey, I'm going to start a podcast about video gaming. It's that I did it for, a couple of years before making the decision to say, this is what I'm going to do. And we'll see where it goes. And yeah.
All right.
Anyway, sorry. I don't know. I wanted to share that with everybody. It was a pretty cool day, especially seeing as I was supposed to start like this big boy job tomorrow and that I turned it down. That was awesome to call them. And they're like, what? I was like, yeah, no, I won't be coming tomorrow. I'm not going to accept the position, even though I already did. Anyway, mid. We're talking about mid. Sorry, I needed the mid lane. The mid lane. We're talking about mid lane.
It's all right.
Not midlife crises. Got those over with already. Mid lane crisis, indeed. So let's start this off with you've been playing a lot of mid. You're a great mid.
It's true.
What's going on with you? No, I've watched your mid. You're a good mid.
Well, I'm okay. So the mid lane is, of course, the most high impact lane for the early game. It's the lane that kind of like the way that you take your mid, what kind of mid that you draft, kind of more or less can define what your team is going to want to do and what kind of tempo your team is going to want to play at. So before you even talk about what you're doing in the mid lane, the first thing you need to really be aware of is what you want the game to look like, and then you kind of like pick your mid accordingly. You can take it kind of the other way and say, these are the only mids I can play. This is what the game is going to have to look like for me to be successful. That's kind of where I've been at. I've been given those words that just came out of my mouth, for me personally, in a lot of these games I get, as I was just bitching about how every game is like plus 15 and minus 33, it's basically just me plus a bunch of people worse than me versus a bunch of people that are like of average skill between all of us. So like it's all of my friends dying all around me as I try to like slay the enemies fast enough for my friends to stop dying. And so I look at the game and I say, okay, I need to be something that can kill everyone, someone that can also never die, and then someone that can also push, and then someone that can do everything else the game could ever ask of me, which is extremely limiting, which makes playing mid not fun for me.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely limiting, but I love mid because it's the closest to
25-point game.
25-point game, and to put the cherry on top, all I'm doing is spitting poison, dude. At first picking Viper.
And you're not even.
I'm just a Viper player.
Highest MR every game. Every game.
Sometimes I am. It depends.
Fucking 4.7K.
It depends. But it is weird. I'm starting to get 3,800 average. So I've climbed a lot.
Yeah, I mean it's a 1 out of 5 chance basically whether or not you're gonna be the highest. But for me, it's every game. I hate it anyway. So let's talk about the mid lane.
The mid lane. So the way I've always viewed, I mean, we've gotten into this before, but there's a couple of things that I want to dispel from people that really plagued me and my understanding of the mid lane. And yes, there have been map changes since me starting Dota, which was in late 2014. So the mid lane, you hear a lot of bullshit. If you don't gank by 4 minutes and 30 seconds, you're a bad mid. I've heard that a lot. when I was in a lower MMR.
The people who think,
yeah,
who think mid ganks.
That
quaint concept.
Yeah, that mid is the role that moves around. Which, if we can just stop there and say that people think mid is the role that should move around the most. Well, there's only one person in mid, but then there's, and this was traditionally back when I was playing in 680. It was dual lanes. So why would the person that is, only one to the mid lane leave his lane when there are two people in each of the other lanes? So first and foremost, you can just use a little bit of logic and kind of dispel that the mid needs to be moving around and helping everybody when absolutely that's not the case.
So let's go back to some of our concepts that we worked on previously. If everyone would turn to page 7 in their textbooks, one of the main things that defines how a lane works is the number of nodes there are in a lane that you can man, if you will, like how many things there are in the lane that exists that you can like extract value from by having people in them. And at the very least, we can say, yes, mid doesn't have a lot, but it's a lane. So there are creeps there. There are creeps that give 100% experience and 100% gold when you last hit them. If you go from 100 or 1 player to 0 players in that lane, you are losing like a full lane's worth of efficiency. If you take a safe lane or whatever, if you add another person there, maybe you can't pull or whatever, but the main thing is if you take a person out of mid lane, if you set it from a safe lane, if you set it from 2 people to 1 person, you are still able to get full efficiency of these lane creeps. And like if I were to put a value, like maybe all of the like value from laning is, let's call that 100, and maybe the amount that you get from doing jobs in the jungle, like just working on these nodes and like helping in zoning, that sort of thing, maybe I'd put that at like 50% or like at a value of 50. Mm-hmm. So if you move someone outside of a dual lane, you're losing maybe 50 value. If you move someone out, if you move like an entire section, or if you just like if you leave a lane entirely, you're at the very least losing like 100 value. So it makes most sense to rotate someone out of a lane that has more than one person in it.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Right.
And that's something that when you first start playing Dota, or you and this is something that I've talked about a bit, but when you play with people that are better than you, but not like marginally better than you, like say I calibrated at 1800, I dropped to about 1500, and it was about a 1500 MMR player for a very long time. And I played with people who were like 2.5k or 2.2k or 2.3k who don't necessarily know everything. And when you hear it from somebody better that you need to rotate and you need to gank, logic goes out the door, and misinformed wisdom comes into play. Like, I'm last hitting super well. I'm Viper. This is great. Like, I'm wrecking this other mid. I'm getting all the last hits in the world. Oh shit, bottom needs me. I'm going to TP and leave. Why? I'm already winning. Why would I jeopardize winning 33% of the lanes, by leaving? Really, somebody
with just one person.
Yeah, with just one person. Like, and I have the chance of dying down there. I have the chance. I'm already, giving up all the gold, all the experience, and the potential of keeping the other mid's head underwater. So basically, there are 3 things I'm losing by leaving, which is I'm allowing the other person to float. I'm allowing, and then not allowing myself to get solo experience, solo gold, especially when I'm doing just fine. And so that whole noob mid didn't gank by 430, didn't gank at 6, is definitely something that I would say is wrong. Of course, we're talking about Dota. It's super situational. It depends on what hero you are, what the circumstance is. If your rotation does mean, a triple kill in a tower, it's probably worth it. But for the most part, yeah, I was a 1500 MMR player that had a bunch of tricks that I learned from people who were higher than me, that instead of actually using logic and my own thought process, I used what they told me as blind faith, basically, that they were better than me, so they're right, which is dangerous. I mean, that's dangerous not only to Dota 2, but that's dangerous to like civilization in general, to listen to people who you put on a pedestal and take their word as complete fact. So
especially if they're not as good as they think they are.
yeah, I mean, this is kind
Because
of.
hey, listen to everything I say. Put me on a pedestal and don't trust anything that isn't me, and that's fine with me. But that's just because I'm incredible at everything I do.
I mean, even talking about you sometimes, some of the shit that works for you is
Whoa.
no way going to work for people at lower MMRs, just because some of the things that you
Okay,
do.
that's fair.
Yeah, some of the things that you do, I mean, are really technical, or some of the item builds you go have a ton of actives that say
Like a blink dagger. Never
yeah,
suggest a blink dagger to a person who does not want a blink dagger.
exactly. So when you especially when you're playing Lone Druid and you have this hour 20-minute Lone Druid game where you have a backpacked MKB because you're 13 slotted, that's something that it's going to be really hard for a 2K player or even a 3K player to be able to handle all those actives, let alone skills, and then micro of the unit. So when you throw out a build and like, this is the way to go, like your PA build, I think is pretty universal and can be followed from 0 MMR up. But if like you're throwing out a lonely druid build, like position comes into play, map awareness comes into play, how to use your like Mjolnir, like how are you using the Mjolnir? Are you just putting it on yourself and you're not getting attacked? Are you putting it on?
I don't use it anymore. I don't buy Mjolnir for the most part.
Yeah,
I'm a Deso kind of guy.
Yeah, and Deso's great, but I'm just saying that's where there's a disconnect in that and you see it all the time.
No, I get you.
And you see it all the time with pros too, where I just played a 2K average game with like Denny because we're trying to boost him up his ranked party, and it was funny to see everybody go rush the opponent's safe lane bounty, but they had no crowd control. And all I kept thinking was they probably saw pros do this, but pros did it for a very different reason. Pros said, we have a lot of lockdown. They have no lockdown. We can totally contest their bounty room.
We have a better level 1 than they do.
Yeah.
But, if you're at a certain MMR, you're not really able to really adequately say, oh, our level 1 is better than theirs.
Yeah, I mean, it was a Ricky and an Axe that went in to try and take it. And Axe went counter Helix first, and Ricky went Invis first, of course. And it's like, well, you can chase them around and you can hope that they attack you if you're Axe.
Venom.
Like, easy. Yeah, I don't think Ricky had Orb of Venom, but the fundamental difference being they didn't understand that when the pros go to, do anything, that there's a lot more thought than just going there, if that makes sense. We can end that tangent there, but that's where it's hard with really high skill players giving advice to lower skill players. There's a lot of assumptions. There's a lot of assumptions made.
That definitely comes into like how we were saying. We were talking about the safe lane and how there's like so many things to do, or at least maybe before this patch, and definitely way long ago, it was without a doubt always good to have 3 people in one lane. But as you got lower down into MMR, it was just way harder to pull off.
Yep.
Like right after TI3, it was like when I first started getting like relatively competent at Dota, and I would queue into games, people would be like, "Oh, are we tri-laning?" And I was like, what kind of a question? When you're with me, you always try lane. And like that was true, but then a lot of these people, like, they didn't really know how to, so it would often just be a disaster. It's like, there's no point to try laning if we're not pulling. They're like, how do you pull? I was like, maybe we should not have try laned.
Yeah.
So that can come into play in like a lot of different ways. But I mean, I think in the safe lane we kind of addressed that already.
Yeah.
But for the mid lane, so there are some. So if the point of the show is to talk about how to play like proper Dota, and then if you can't play Dota, like how you work around that, we can start with how to like properly mid lane. So if you do need to rotate, okay, so like everything in Dota, you kind of need to make a value call, just like assign everything a base level of utility. Like I said before, having one person absorbing all of the experience and last hits from a lane, we'd call that 100 value or 100 utility just for the fun of it. And if you have a second person in your lane doing jungle things or zoning or whatever, we could call that arbitrary like 50 utility. And you could say maybe if one of your lanes is losing and it's not able to, like maybe it's getting denied a lot and it's not getting many last hits, the laning is going down to like 50 or something like that. And then if you were to leave your lane and then go help and then like go wipe the other lane, then you would shut down their off lane, maybe their off dual lane, or whatever, and then take that lane from gaining, like 100 to 150 utility or something like that. Take them down to like 50 because they just got like killed and ganked, and then your safe lane is now dominant and they're up to like 150 utility because they're getting all the last hits and denies now, and their support is able to like stay in and do pulls and that sort of thing. Like maybe it could be the right thing to rotate around like that. But even if you do a play similar to that, where you like shift the tempo or shift the tide of one lane radically in your favor, which is like a great thing to do. But you can kind of you can mitigate the loss in your mid lane by having someone else rotate over to take it while you're doing that. Like let's say you have a dual lane off lane and a dual lane safe lane. If you're going to rotate to the safe lane, you're going to take a long time to do that. You can mitigate how long it takes in several ways, but let's say it's going to take you like a long time to get over there and wait for the opportunity for a kill and all that. If you like announce that you're doing that and you tell like, oh, hey, offlane support, take mid for a bit, like they will be more than happy to get free experience and gold and shit and finally get their level 3 at 5 minutes.
Oh, absolutely.
My mouth hurts, so I stopped talking.
No, I agree. So can we break it down even further to say for instance, Charlie's doctor is 800 MMR, and he's absolutely not terrified, but he doesn't find it interesting to play a core because he says farming seems boring. And so he finds himself playing support a lot, which I'm sure supporting at 800 MMR is not fun, to say the least. An experience, probably a very terrible experience. And so what advice would you give to somebody who is 800 MMR who says, I think farming's boring, but I'm willing for you to change my mind. I want to go mid. Just what is the basic advice? I mean, at 800 MMR, counter picking is not really going to matter too much. I'm going to go ahead and make that assumption. Yeah. What would be like a basic toolkit that you would give him to say, okay, here's a way that you can climb from 800 MMR to some number that you feel happy with by playing mid? Yeah. Like
the first piece of advice that I would give, which is advice that I've been giving nonstop, which I really, or at least lately, which I really think is the best advice you can give for Dota, especially given how I started and how I became a low druid player, is just find a hero that you are interested in, even if it's just aesthetically. Like playing druid, yes, I like the micro, but a lot of it was just the aesthetics, and the people that I was playing with really, like just enjoyed having lone druid on their teams. It's like, oh, it's a sweet Scottish dude with a bear. I make a funny voice when I play him sometimes. It's great. So just like find a hero that you like to play, that you can play mid. And like that's definitely your starting point. Just like make sure you're enjoying it. Don't just pick like, oh, Ember Spirit's good, guess I have to play Ember Spirit, and then you get bored and it sucks, and if you're not having success, you're not having fun. So like pick a hero you like, and then do that. And so after you're there, like there's I call it the prioritization of actions for mid players, where it's like number 1, last hit. Number 2, deny the ranged creep. Number 3, harass. Number 4, deny. Things that aren't the range creep. And then number 5 is like, rotate and gank ruins and kill motherfuckers. Mm-hmm. And that's like, I guess, a starting point. It's all pretty hero specific, right? But that's not like a very fun or very useful thing to say.
Do you think you could roll it?
I would say. Do
you think you could roll it back even further? Roll it back even further as far as just general positioning? Because I mean, an 800 MMR player is not going to understand that standing in the river is a bad thing.
Sure.
Or attracting creep aggro, or not chasing after a hero when you have no creeps and they have all the creeps. Like, wouldn't you want to roll it back even further for somebody at that level? Like,
yeah, absolutely. Help me refine it, if you will, sir.
So I don't know. Basically, I've heard a few things here and there as far as I think it's matchup dependent, like you were saying, but mirroring your opponent or your mid opponent, or make like just little tips that could give an 800 MMR player a huge advantage over somebody else that didn't know them, which would be okay. I think even less so than heroes.
At a very easy baseline, you want to always be on like your side of the creeps. You always want to have your set of melee creeps between you and the enemy mid that you're going up against. That way, if they ever right-click you, if they're ever in range to right-click you, your melee creeps will start hounding them. And not only do they do damage, but they make it a lot harder for them to move around. They're always going to have they're kind of like your linemen for like American football. Anytime they do anything, you want your linemen to like blitz them and stuff. Hey, quit it. He's our friend. And then they don't hit you, which is great. Yeah. So like you always want that to be the case. I don't know. I'm gonna be honest. I'm having a little bit of an issue, like actually.
And that's I imagined you would. I imagined you would. Because you have played thousands of games of Dota, as have I, and you're really good. And so a lot of your movements and a lot of the things you do in the mid lane, I'm sure have become semi-autonomic, where just kind of like breathing, like you just know to breathe. You're not really conscious of it. But being a new player, I remember when I first started mid, all the things that I did wrong.
All right. Here's the way I want to do this. Anytime I come up with something that's relevant to say, I'm just going to cut you off and do it.
Okay.
And then you keep talking and jogging my memory. All right. So one of the main things that you need to do, and this is like from the initial second mark, the first thing you need outside of, buying items is first, but as soon as the laning phase starts, you want to get your block off, right? And the reason that you want to get your block off is you want the creeps as close to your high ground as possible. You don't want them up the stairs because then their creeps are going to miss and your lane is going to push out towards their high ground. But there's this very small expanse between your high ground and theirs. And if you are on the high ground and they are on the low ground trying to like last hit creeps, there's one that they won't be able to hit you without missing. They won't know your positioning. You may be far back away and not able to be harassed, or you may be close getting ready to kill them. But the ideal place for your creeps to be, or you could even say maybe just your melee creeps. What you need is you want your melee creeps to be on the low ground. That way their ranged creep is never going to miss them. That way they do take a lot of damage. You can have your ranged creep on your high ground, and that can help, maybe when they're trying to last hit your ranged creep, which gives the 90 experience, big deal. That creep's a big fucking deal. It gives 90 experience, is a lot of experience. If they're trying to last hit it, maybe they'll miss and you'll get a deny out of pure luck. Or they want to harass you and you're on high ground and they're on low ground to do that. So like number one thing is you want your creep equilibrium towards your tower, kind of like safe lane, only instead of like right in front of your tower, you want it right in front of your high ground.
For sure. Okay, so I'm I said, I'm going to keep talking. So I'm going to create a scenario. I'm not even going to name heroes. I'm just going to say we have a ranged mid versus a ranged mid, which I would say is most often the case.
At least starting out.
Yeah, at least starting out. You're probably going to, see, I don't even want to name heroes because it doesn't even matter. Because for those people who want to play mid, it doesn't matter. Just like Proud said, even if it's aesthetics, pick something and it's probably going to be ranged. Yeah. What is going to be, say you get an okay block off, and an okay block is going to do a lot to the other 800 MMR player who probably didn't block at all. Like if you can stop the creeps for half a second, it's going to do a lot in your favor. So the 800 MMR player has done this. He's playing a ranged hero. The other person's playing a ranged hero. The creeps meet. He didn't get him on his high ground, but he got him a little closer to his tower. What's next? What's cardinal? What is something that is a sin to do for this ranged hero for you to do? All
right, well, the last thing that you want to do is just start auto-attacking shit.
Sure.
Right? I feel like... I'm not sure if that's like something that has been said before on this podcast. Maybe we just glazed over it, but your attack is a resource. Never use it unless there is a purpose. And as we said, pushing the lane is not something that you're trying to do. You want to keep it by your high ground. So there's a couple ways you can do that. One, if it is... If you are really far towards their high ground, you can be denying your own creeps and doing what I shorthand call auto-denying, which is just every time you can, you will just like right-click one of your own creeps to make it lose health. That way it'll die faster. That way the equilibrium of the lane will go towards your high ground. Don't worry too much about denies. Just make sure that you are right-clicking and trying to kill your own creeps as quickly as possible. Then once it gets closer to your side of the map, then you stop. Your side of the high ground.
Absolutely. And I think that is of the utmost importance to understand because, sorry, we had a little tag there and lost my train of thought. We started a little recording issue, but I got it covered. I'll fix that in post.
Okay.
Refresh me. I apologize. I was like, I was in crisis
It's all
mode
right,
as that was
babe.
happening.
It's all set. All right, yeah. So I just covered like the first thing that you want to do is you like look at the creeps, find out where they're positioned, and you decide whether or not you need to be like right clicking anything or not. Right, that's your first decision. And normally
Absolutely.
you're if the creeps like are in a beneficial position to you, like they're right below your high ground, you're sitting on high ground, able to last hit and deny as you see fit. If they're there, you don't have to do anything. Just deny creeps when they come up. Last hit creeps when that comes up. If the creep wave is near the enemy high ground, you want to be spamming your auto attack, denying as much as or attacking your own creeps as much as possible. Which of course you can start when they're below 50% health. You can auto attack your own non-hero units. So anything that's not a hero on your team, if it's below 50%, including my fucking bear, you can right click it and kill it.
Yes.
Including my fucking bear, which happens a lot.
On Lone Druid.
Especially when it's really low. And I've done it myself. Anyway.
Okay, so this jogged my memory. This is something that I didn't understand until probably about 6 months ago, which is I always thought of deny, and technically a deny is when you get the last hit on your own creep. The thing that I didn't realize is why would I hit my own creeps unless I was going to get the last hit on them? You know what I mean? That's the if we're gonna pull out your order of operations of things you should be doing in the mid lane. Well, I need to be last hitting, and if I can't get the last hit on my own creep to deny it, then I'm not going to touch the thing. And at an 800 MMR level, I can only assume that you don't understand that even right clicking your creep when it's below 50% health once and it doesn't kill it is going to help your equilibrium. And that's something I didn't even understand. It's going
to pull the lane back.
Not necessarily getting a deny. And that's the big...
Yeah, not getting a deny, just reducing its health with the right click is going to make your set of creeps die faster. Obviously, if you do damage to something, it dies faster. That's how the word damage works. Yes. So the more damage you're doing the more damage your creeps are taking, which you can make happen by right-clicking them yourself once they're below 50% health, they will die faster, and that will mean as soon as they're not there, the enemy creep wave will start walking forward. So the faster you can make that happen, the sooner they'll start walking forward. And there's only going to be you're only going to change up the timing a little bit, but at the same time, you only want the enemy creep wave to be moving a little bit. Yeah. So if you manage to kill yours, let's say one of your melee creeps 50% faster or something like that, then it'll the enemy creep wave will walk. Maybe it would take them, I don't know, half a second to kill that creep, and then they're going to walk 150 units because that's their move speed divided by 2. Move speed is the number of units they move every second, so divide that by 2. It's 325 over 2. It's 150, 160, something like that. It's 160, I think 162. Yeah, 162.5. So they walk 162.5 units forward, and that moves it closer to your high ground. That's good for you.
And I guess to give you another bit of knowledge that I didn't really get for a while, which is what is distance in Dota, and this is just going to be a quick tangent. Imagine Radiant mid lane. In between the tier 2 and the tier 1, on the inside of both of those towers, is 1,000 units. So you can give yourself an idea of what 1,000 units looks like in Dota 2. That helped me a lot, that initial visualization, because you hear these numbers like Blink will allow you to go so far, Force Staff will push you this far. Just imagine the distance between the tier 2 and tier 1 in Radiant mid, or I'm sure Dire mid's very similar. I just tested it on Radiant mid, and just know that that's about 1,000 units. That's just a quick tangent.
Yeah.
Anyway, so...
Yeah, it's more or less the width of your screen.
Yeah, the width of your screen, or in between tier 1 and tier 2 in the mid lane, something along those lines. Okay, so we've now established for this lower MMR player some pretty fundamental things that I think too often we assume. I know that when this podcast first started, there were no assumptions being made. There was an argument over everything and how everything had to be done. But as I've gotten better at Dota, and you've been good at Dota for as long as I've known you, I feel like I don't want to glaze over a lot of things. I kind of want to get into the nitty gritty for people, and it's a good reminder.
Yeah, I agree.
Another pro tip here for people that have trouble last hitting under tower: a tier 1 will hit a melee creep 5 times, and then you can usually last hit it. And I say usually because I don't want to get flamed by everybody who listens to this and says sniper doesn't have enough base damage, so you have to hit it twice. So basic rules of thumb.
If you have 60 damage or over, that's cool. If you're below 60 damage, you have to hit the melee creep one.
Yep.
It's a nice rule of thumb.
So if a melee creep is full health and it walks into your tower because you've done such a good job at denying your own creeps and it's now your last hitting under tower, which most people hate, just count the tower hits up to 5 and then hit it once and it should die. With range creeps, you need to let the tower hit it, attack it, let the tower hit it, and attack it for a final blow. When I learned this rule, it helped a ton.
Range creeps, it's if you have 80 damage, that's the point where you hit them with or the tower attacks twice and then you hit it once if you have 80 or enough damage. If you have less than 80 damage, hit it once, 2 tower hits, then you hit it, and that's good.
Yeah. And it'll at least get you a couple more last hits under tower, and you'll start to count and you'll start to practice, and actually things will slow down for you and not seem so chaotic when it's under tower. I remember the first time trying to last hit under tower, and I was like, dude, I don't know how people do this. This is just stupid. It's luck of the draw. And so I'm in this vacuum that we've built against 2 ranged heroes. You now understand how to last hit because you've been doing such a good job at not denying the creeps necessarily, but denying some of their health such that it pushes in your favor. So now that we've established this, I think it's important. I mean, this would have been something I would have loved to listen to because I was immediately polarized to mid lane. Next thing I think would be good to know for somebody who is aspiring to be a mid player and starting at a fairly low MMR would be how do I want to attack their tower? Is always a big thing, and how do I get the tower to stop attacking me? Say you decide, okay, I just hit level 6 and I'm Drow Ranger and I'm mid. A lot of people would argue Drow Ranger isn't supposed to go mid, but you're 800 MMR and you love Drow Ranger and you went mid, and that's fine.
It's a ranged hero. It goes mid. God damn it.
Yeah, that is fine. You're playing Drow Ranger mid. That is fine. I'm not. Your MMR doesn't matter. Higher MMRs, it will matter, but at your MMR, don't even worry about it. Play Drow mid. You hit level 6.
Range, you have an ultimate. Go mid.
You hit level 6 and you start pushing the wave out. How do you want to deal with that? I mean, you have to walk up onto their high ground. Okay, go ahead.
Let's tackle what it even means to push a tower in the first place. Not really what it means, but what you want to be the case before you are pushing a tower.
Okay.
All right. So the way that you kill towers is you have creeps auto attacking the tower. That's the first thing that needs to be the case for you to be wanting to kill a tower. So how do you create that situation? One, you need to make sure they don't have creeps coming quickly. If you want to know creeps have a priority system on what they attack. Their first priority is by default, if they're just living in their creeply world, they're just going to attack other creeps that they encounter. Other neutral or enemy units that they encounter, they will attack them.
Non-hero enemy units.
No enemy.
Yeah.
Yes, any enemy, any non-hero enemy units, they will just attack them, especially if they're attacking. If let's say you have a centaur or something that you mind controlled, and it's just sitting there not doing shit, and you have some enemy lane creeps that are actually actively attacking things, they're going to focus on the things that are doing damage. They hate, if something looks aggressive, they will be killing it. If it's just sitting there, they don't care too much. Okay, so that's one thing they'll do. They'll just attack what's going on. And then if there are no creeps hanging out and about, they'll attack. They'll attack a hero. If there's no creeps actively doing things, they'll attack a hero. And then if there's none of that going on, they will attack a catapult. If there's no lane creeps and there's no neutral creeps, there's no heroes, there's no catapult, then finally they will attack a building. So in order for your creeps to be attacking a building, you have to make sure the enemy lane creeps are not coming and there is not a hero that is around to aggro them. And heroes can also aggro them by just casting a spell on them. Any aggressive action on a creep will get their aggro if it's not an entire 5 screens away.
Yeah, basically towers are least priority.
A bunch of creeps.
Towers are least priority.
Lowest.
Yeah, lowest priority for a creep.
So there needs there needs to be jack shit going on for your creeps to actually be attacking a tower. And the tower is going to first attack lane creeps, then it's going to attack you, then it's going to attack catapults. So even if it's just you plus a catapult, like you're just going to get shit on by that tower. What you need is a bunch of lane creeps to be there. So you need to make sure the enemy hero is not there, and there's no enemy creeps like hanging around out there.
Right? Which is where
you need in order to be pushing a tower.
Which, rolling back once again, which is where, so I kill. We're level 6, and I kill the enemy mid. And I decide, okay, all of these prerequisites have been fulfilled. I want to push the tower. Is that a good rule of thumb for somebody at 800 MMR to say it's time to push the tower? Yeah, I killed them.
If there's no enemy hero in the lane, whether that be because you killed them or because you rotate or because they rotated, you can kill the enemy lane as quickly as possible. Like, so every time a creep wave gets to like the midpoint of mid lane, it's going to be 30 seconds before another creep wave gets there. So as soon as like you see some creeps and then you kill them really fast, you know you're going to have a solid window of time before the next enemy creep wave comes. So if there's no hero there and you just kill their creep wave, if it was a fairly fresh creep wave, you're going to have a lot of time for your creeps to start hitting their tower. So you need to look for those kind of openings where the enemy hero is not going to be there and enemy lane creeps are not going to be there. If you're a hero that has a bunch of AoE spells, like a Queen of Pain or a Lena or something like that, you can be like taking a tower and then the enemy creep wave gets there and then you use your Scream of Pain or your Dragon Slave or, Sven Cleave if you're Sven mid for some fucking reason. Use whatever spells you can, kill the enemy creep wave real fast, then your new creep wave will come out, get refreshed, and start taking that on. But as soon as an enemy hero gets there, they can just like right-click one of your creeps, and they will fuck off from the tower and just like leave you alone to get hit by the tower. So the main thing is once the enemy hero leaves and you're able to clear a creep wave real fast, that's when you're going to push a tower. Outside of those situations, don't do it. If you are under the tower, like right-clicking it and stuff, you are just opening yourself up to get TP'd on, have someone rotate on you, and then like let's say they do an aggressive action on you, even if you can't kill them, or your interpretation is you can't kill them, and your interpretation is they can't kill you. The fact of the matter is they can perform an aggressive action on you, and you cannot perform an aggressive action on them if they are under tower. At least, you might be able to if you're way stronger, but you probably don't have all the information necessary to kind of make that judgment call. So in general, the enemy hero is not there. You're going to push into it while you have creeps. If another hero comes, you need to get back because you do not have they have a huge defensive advantage if they're under tower and you do not.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's important to know. Another thing that you were hinting at as far as creeps attacking the tower, this is something that I see all too often in, I'll be honest, my own play. And I'm, in above 2000 MMR, which is creeps do more damage to towers than you do. So, and that's a hard concept to understand. So when you are pushing the tower, you've decided, okay, the hero's gone, I'm safe, I know he's dead, I can see that he's dead up in the top. You want to kill their creeps before even attacking the tower. Like Proud said, your attack is a resource. You want to use that resource on the enemy creeps so that your creeps will attack their tower. This is where right-clicking creeps is okay. Like just straight up auto attacking.
This is a bit of a higher level thing. But yeah, so in Dota there are these damage types that we've talked about. I think in a couple weeks ago we touched on the damage types. And heroes do 50% of their damage to buildings. Now you have these white numbers that show up whenever you right click something. And if you hit a hero or if you hit a tower, you'll see you do like way less damage. Like if you have 100 damage, you're going to right click a tower. It's going to say like, I don't know, 20 or something.
Yeah. Like
that's your damage cut in half and then reduced by the tower's armor. But a creep still does 75% of their damage to a tower. So creeps, like pound for pound, you do more damage to a creep in comparison, or rather, if you had to choose which damage is going to go to towers and which damage is going to go to creeps, you would want creeps hitting towers as much as possible, and you would want you hitting enemy creeps as much as possible. Your creeps are not going to hit the tower until their creeps are dead. So if you're hitting the tower while your creeps are hitting creeps, that's bad. You want to be hitting the creeps to free up your creeps as fast as possible, so your creeps will hit their tower. I know there's a lot of variables in those names, creeps and your creeps, their creeps, all that. But the point is,
you want
to hit their creeps, so your creeps hit their tower.
Yeah, you want to create the scenario that your creeps are attacking their tower with the knowledge in your mind that creeps priority list or creeps prioritize towers last. So you have to create that scenario however you can.
Yeah.
Another thing that I would like to have known when starting mid, and that is this idea of lane mana. How often should I be harassing them? Should I be using my spells? At what point do I go aggressive? I know this is super situational, but to an 800 MMR player, somebody below 1,000 or around 1,000, you can almost use a rule of thumb here. Say I'm playing, I don't know, I am playing the Lena. How often do I want to use my fire spell or my Q spell to attack an enemy? And every time you use that, you push out the lane as well, which is another point I wanted to bring up.
Okay, so let's cover spell usage now for mid. I think that's a fine topic. Okay, so there's a few. I'll cover when is standard to use spells. The main time that spells are going to be used, or at least the most frequent usage of spells, is when you're dealing with the rune. And basically, the thought is, okay, so we said earlier, let's say getting all of the experience and last hits on a lane is worth 1,000 utility, 1,000 units, 1,000 points, whatever the fuck arbitrary metric you want to give. But getting the rune is also worth some amount of points. It doesn't really matter how much, but the fact of the matter is, if you can absorb all of the last hits in a wave and then do something else before the next wave comes, you are just building onto that 100 utility that you already got from doing the laning. So the number one way that you can get a rune and still be getting all the last hits or wherever in a lane is if you just AoE down the creep wave as fast as possible. That way there's still that. So let's say a creep wave gets there. It's going to take 30 seconds for the next creep wave to arrive. So you see a creep wave, you're playing Lena or Sven or Queen of Pain or whatever. You use your AoE spells real quick. The rune spawns at the 2-minute mark. So let's say that the creep wave arrives at like 1 minute 50 seconds, and you want to get the 2-minute rune. You're going to use your Dragon Slave, and then you're just going to fucking auto attack the enemy creeps down as fast as possible. And then they're going to die, and then you're going to have maybe 20 seconds left before the next creep wave comes. That gives you enough time to walk up to the top rune, get it, and then go back to lane. You haven't missed any last hits and all that business.
Absolutely. And spell usage, you got to be careful with your AoE spells, area of effect spells, for anybody who doesn't know what AoE means. I do find myself thinking, I understand it, but that doesn't mean everybody else does. Another important aspect of all of this is knowing where your enemy is, which is hard, like you said, when creeps, most often, I'm going to say, at a lower skill level, are going to just be dead center in the river. And every 4 minutes, it goes day to night. And when it's nighttime, you don't really have much vision. So knowing where your enemy hero is important. It allows you the opportunity to stay longer or when to back if somebody's ganking. So as a mid, vision is important. And I'm sure when you're playing at lower skill levels, you find yourself with no vision at all. So another pro tip, 65 gold for an observer ward is nothing. Buy one and put it on their high ground.
It's literally nothing.
65
is not a number. 64, a number. 66, a number. 65, zero. Just doesn't exist. It's null. Buy it.
You also have to realize you're making 100 gold every 60 seconds in Dota 2. It's just passive gold. So just a minute of existing covers an observer ward and a half, basically. So buy one. In literally any situation, buy one and put it on their high ground. You're going to find that you feel less stressed, because stress is a big thing in the mid lane. Stress will cause you to miss last hits. Stress will cause you to do things that you would think you wouldn't do. Whether that's chasing somebody under tower because they're low, or finding yourself in a position where you want to get your stun off, but you can't because they're just out of range, and then you find yourself dying and them living. Having vision of them the whole time will give you a very clear idea of what you're capable of. And in lower MMRs, it is a complete oversight, in my opinion, vision and how important it is. But it is really important for you to know, even if you're not clicking, I'm not even going to tell you to click on the enemy hero, because that can be a difficult thing. I remember the first time I played Anti-Mage, I was like, how does his ult work? And they're like, it's based on how much mana they're missing. And I'm like, how do I know how much mana they're missing? It's like, well, you have to click on them. And it's like, what? That's never going to happen. Like, I'm not going to be able to click on them. Like, there's too much stuff going on. I'm just going to
hit them a bunch and hope.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a better strategy.
So I'm not even saying click on them to see what items they have. Just knowing where they are, knowing how much health they have, because you can see their health clearly, is going to make you just feel calm. Staying calm in the mid lane is extremely important. You will win if you were just more level-headed and you think logically. Okay, they have a lot of health. I have half health. I'm gonna back.
I'm gonna take it from here.
Go for it.
Something that I say as much as possible is Dota. It's really easy, especially when you're new, to get overwhelmed by all this wild shit that's going on. And the main way that pro players, it's not that like very experienced players are incapable of being overwhelmed by so much data that's like, oh man, someone like I didn't know I was getting rotated on here. I was focusing on this last hit, and I was, looking at the bottom lane, and I was looking at this other thing, and I just didn't know all these things going to happen. It's not that these like more experienced players are that much better at just like registering things the second they happen. It's that they're able to at any point in downtime between the last hit, while they're walking to a rune, while they're waiting for a TP finished, they use that time to like load as much information into their fucking like RAM to like to be able to have as much data like in their head to predict how like the next 5 seconds are going to go.
Yeah.
And that's what like a ward does for you. If you have a ward, you can say, okay, nothing is like, there's no one around me right now. I know that for a fact. I know I have at least 5 seconds to do some wild shit. So like if you have a ward, you can know, okay, I can like dive, and then I'll have 5 seconds at least before someone can like be rotating on me. I know if I have like a ward in mid lane, I can do shit and no one is going to be around me for a little bit. If you're like really, really experienced, with it, when someone is a quarter of a second from like being able to cast a spell on you, you can be like, oh, okay, there's a hero there. I fucking load that shit in my RAM. Now I understand what I need to do about it, and then I do it. But if you're newer, you may want that ward there to just be able to warn you way, way, way far ahead of time. Like, oh, if I go aggressive here, this Slardar is just going to sprint up and stun me. So I'm going to like back off and not do that. So that's what like having good vision gives you way more time to process what's going on, and a lot more opportunities to find some downtime to look at the map and be like, oh, this dude is here and he will be here within, like he'll be able to roam on me within 30 seconds, as opposed to if you have no vision and it's like, oh, I just saw this person through my fucking like only the vision that my hero gives me, and I only have 5 seconds to react to them instead.
Yeah, and observer wards do not care whether it's day or night, which is another important thing.
They always see everything.
They will always see the same amount. So keeping that in mind is extremely important.
And that's another reason you want to be on the high ground and have your creeps near the high ground, so you can stay on the high ground yourself. That way you can see the enemy. At daytime, you can see the enemy mid lane's high ground, so you can see their mid, if their mid is also on the high ground, or you can see people trying to rotate on you through your high ground. But if the creep wave is near the enemy's high ground, you're not going to be able to see like immediately behind you. You could get rotated on. You won't be able to see the enemy when they're walking back and forth. If maybe you need to hit a spell or something like that, you won't know shit. It's another reason why you want to have your creep wave as close to your own high ground as possible. High ground, that gives you high ground vision, which is awesome.
And another thing you'll notice is everybody buys tangos. Tangos are good. But mid lane, when creeps are in the river, trees are really far away, which means you're probably going to get a last hit. So the closer you have your creeps to your tower, the closer you are to grabbing a tree. Also, one thing that I want to get out of everybody's head immediately is that buying observer wards is not mutually exclusive to a support. I know we just said that 65 gold is not a number, but I've played 1,000 games where a mid will absolutely lose his lane because of 65 gold. Get that out of your head that supports should be buying every observer ward. In an ideal world, yes, they should. It's great. It would be wonderful if they bought every single one and they placed them for you. But make sure that you take that away. Take that out of your mind.
I mean, obviously, it would be best if your support buys the wards. In my games, I very rarely buy wards. Even, I mean, I still do, even at 5.1. There's, at times every so often I'm just like, no one's fucking warding. Guess I will. But it's a good thing to do. It's just good. Have wards, even with your starting goal. Like as the mid, I mean, you want to be getting to your bottle as fast as possible, but even like after you get the bottle and a pair of boots, your next item isn't that important. Maybe buy a ward if you need it for your mid lane. Like, just buy wards. It's gonna help. Even if you're not the support, if no one else is gonna do it, you might as well.
Absolutely. Sorry, I was just like racking my mind there for a second. This has been, it's funny how when breaking things down to what we would, I guess, call simple, makes so much sense on why I make a lot of mistakes myself and a lot of other people make mistakes. Not keeping these things in mind. I'm glad that we were able to explore some of the simpler things about mid.
How much time are we at?
We're at an adequate amount. Is there anything you would also like to add as far as somebody
we didn't even touch what a bottle is and when to actually rotate.
We didn't. We didn't at all. We were assuming We were assuming whoever the person is in the mid lane just needed to understand some basic things. Regen was another thing I was going to touch on. If you do find yourself with low health, shipping a salve out, I used to think was a sin. Like, why would I waste 110 gold on a salve?
Yeah.
This is another thing that you need to realize, that 110 gold means that you can stay in lane for experience and gold, and it's going to keep you there for a lot longer. Now maybe you could say it's less important now with shrines, but shrines have a really long cooldown, and chances are you're using them. So keeping that in mind, we can cover when to rotate and bottle. That's fine. I'd love to.
How much time are we at? I asked you a question and you gave me the answer.
An hour. We're at an hour.
Okay. Yeah, so we got plenty of time because this is Proudland, where we always go late. So I want to touch rotating a little bit and when to have a TP. So like your hero probably isn't that interested in. Okay, so there's two situations to rotate. One, you're going for a rune and it's a rune that helps you get somewhere or ensures that a kill will happen. DD, kind of, if you're a hero like Queen of Pain who can really easily like get to the position to kill someone, DD is great. If you're someone like, if you're someone who's immobile, like let's say you're Necrophos mid, and all you can do is walk at someone, whether or not you have a DD or not is not going to have a lot to say on whether or not you can actually get to someone to kill them. But so like if you have a haste rune, you can very easily gank with that. If you have an invis, you can position yourself and then pop out of invis and kill someone. So like if you go for a rune and it's a good rune, you can gank that lane or the lane that you're closest to with that rune. That's one situation. The other situation is after you hit, drop my subwoofer. Once you hit 6, not a phrase you hear every day. Not everyone drops their subwoofer. When you hit 6, you should have a TP on you. Like, or rather, just when you hit a good time that you can kill a motherfucker, get a TP shipped out to you. That way, if one of your lanes is getting killed, you can TP react to it, and you'll be under tower. You'll have a defensive advantage. All that shit, and you can just kill some motherfuckers. And then your lane's not gonna be able to say, "Oh, no TP, fucking mid, no gank, 5-minute report." It's like when they needed the gank, you were there, and that way you can just immediately be where the gank needs to be. You don't need to spend all of your time like walking somewhere and then waiting for an opportunity, and then it doesn't show itself, and then you leave, and then your team immediately dies, and they ping you like, "Oh, why did I die? You're dead." And like that's not what you want. The best thing is just to wait till your team does some stupid shit, and then you TP in to react to it.
Exactly. Okay, I want to present you with another scenario that just popped into my noggin.
Fine.
And I will say that I've been thinking of Charlie's doctor a lot throughout this episode, and I've kind of been like putting myself in his shoes. So excuse me if I've referred to a him this whole time, because I want my son's doctor to understand that I'm sure he'd be a good mid and he could climb really fast and really well, because he's a smart guy, and I know, and I want him to enjoy something other than support. What do you do when you're just losing? You've died twice. You've died twice now. You're 800 MMR. You've died twice in the mid lane. what next? Do I
Okay,
do you just keep going?
So this is when rotations come in. Once the game gets kind of weird, or once like things get changed up a little bit, so that's when I would say, okay, like if you're dying a lot, like let's say our arbitrary 100 utility we put on laning in the mid lane or whatever. If you're dying a lot, obviously laning there, you're not getting 100 utility. You're dying, and you're fucking giving them, like they're getting now 200 out of theirs because they're getting all their shit. Plus they're killing you a ton, and you're not getting shit because you die every 2 seconds and you lose all your gold. So your lane is worth less, but the idea is so the best way to play Dota is to play towards your lanes that are winning, and that's shorthand for saying play in a way that is taking advantage of the players that are most doing well. If you're losing your mid lane, the answer is not to rotate to rotate a couple heroes mid lane to then also die mid. The answer is, okay, well, if we're winning our mid lane, that's not really what we want to think about. What we want to think about is, hey, we are winning our safe lane right now, but we could be winning it even harder if our like mid lane rotated out. So if you're losing really badly, your lane is not winning. So it doesn't make sense to play to your mid lane. Like if you're the mid laner and you are losing, don't continue to play to the mid lane. Start playing to one of the other lanes that is winning. So if your off laner is doing really well and shitting on their safe lane, or your safe lane is doing well and shitting on their off lane, go there and try to ride on their coattails to try to get a bit of advantage back. If there's nothing to do in that, maybe try to jungle, just like use your spells up, kill like a creep camp or something, then shrine up, or like use your bottle crow or something. One of the biggest things about Dota is you need to understand that if you are just dying, start doing inefficient shit that goes against common convention until a new situation presents itself. If all you're doing is dying mid more is not going to change that. So if you know that, like, that's the only certainty you are aware of. If I'm dying 1v1, I am going to continue dying 1v1. If I jungle, maybe it'll be a shitty idea. Maybe it won't be a shitty idea. You're 800 MMR. You don't know. Just do something different. Try to gank a side lane. Maybe it'll work. Maybe it doesn't. At least you didn't feed mid again. Jungle a couple like camps and then wait for their mid to rotate, and then wait for their mid to be like, oh, there's no guy to kill here anymore. I'm a guy who kills people. I just killed like 3 people. I should go somewhere else and get more kills. And then TP react to that, and then kill them in response with your whole team and your lane that is winning.
Yeah. And that's something I've been playing a lot of Viper, like I said, and I've been going up against a lot of Shadow Fiend. Shadow Fiend's popular, and I find even at higher skills, they do not understand this topic. So if you can start practicing at a lower MMR, like 800, of saying, I've lost this lane, I'm going to leave, you're going to get better exponentially faster. Whereas people in higher skills will just keep TPing back and dying and dying. And as Shadow Fiend, as you'll come to realize, is one of the worst heroes to die as, because he loses damage and whatnot. So when you're winning mid lane, let's go ahead and flip to the opposite. When you are absolutely winning mid lane and they keep TPing in and dying, what now?
Keep doing what you're doing. Sounds good. Just keep going.
Okay.
Keep going. Keep a TP on you. Be able to TP react if bad stuff happens. If you kill them, clear the creep wave as soon as they die. Try to get some damage in on their tower. Don't give them an ability to start gaining that 100 utility out of the mid lane again, because pretty much like no lane is ever really going to give you more than 100 utility, unless like you're also doing the lane plus getting kills, or doing the lane plus jungling, like while you're also hitting every creep wave. And if you're killing them a lot, you are ensuring that they are not getting 100 utility out of their mid lane. So all you got to do is keep that happening. If they start jungling or whatever, no skin off your back. Make sure you just start pushing the tower. If you can get the lane plus a tower, that 100 utility turns up to like a fucking trillion. The mid tower is a big deal. If you're killing their mid, turn it into killing their tower. If they come back to the mid lane, chill out until you can kill them again. If the like, because they might be able to, like, if all you're doing is spam like clearing waves, and then pushing into the tower, they can, like, let's say they're sniper and it's really easy for you to kill them. But sniper, all he has to do with his incredible range is auto attack the creep wave once, and then they'll start like running over to Cadriel, Sharp Eye, or whatever the fuck his name is, and then the enemy creep wave will be like behind the tower, and it'll be impossible for you to kill the sniper. So if they're back in the lane, play it as normal, try to get the creep wave where you want it, make sure that they can't get their 100 utility out of getting all that full experience and full last hits from the creep wave. And then as soon as you kill them or they leave, if the lane is too hard, that they're not getting shit out of it, and they go jungle, they try to gank a side lane, that's when you start pushing again. And then beyond that, just have a TP on you as frequently as possible. Should be all the time, but buy them in sets of 2s. That's other advice. Whenever you're buying a TP, buy 2 at a time. They only cost 50 gold. Spend 100 gold, get 2 TPs. Have it forever. Easy. So just push the wave when the enemy hero is not there or when they're dead, and then wait for an opportunity to TP somewhere. That's how you mid when you're winning.
Absolutely. And I think some really good advice. I appreciate it personally when we do break things down to, I don't know, like its purest sense, I guess, because now I'm reminded of things that I may have done automatically, but now I have the option to tune it because I'm now consciously thinking of it. So for those of you who sat through this and thought I got nothing out of this, I'm going to say that this is a good reminder for just about everybody that, keep these things in mind when you're mid.
Got to hear my voice.
Yeah. I found this really important. Proud, thanks for the insight. I'm going to go ahead and closer. You can find us at defenseofthepatients@gmail.com is where you can message us. You can find us at defenseofthepatients.com. You can go to twitch.tv/.ptv. That is a great place. We're going to be doing Sunday team practices at 5 p.m. Eastern with Grumbo, and then all the show hosts. So Cyphus, myself, Proud, and Ursinity. That'll happen. We'll do probably 3 games every Sunday, so look forward to that this Sunday. You can also go to patreon.com/defense of the patients. I want to stop here for a second and say thank you to everybody that has donated recently. It's a huge help. It really is. This is going to allow us to do a lot of things like equipment upgrades. If we find microphones going out, cords going out, headsets going out, mixers going out, channels on our mixer going out, these are things that can get fixed, which helps a lot, helps us keep running this. Also, you have completely covered our costs. We basically now don't have to pay anything out of pocket to do this. You the listeners, have covered that for us. So I want to personally thank you for that. And from here on out, we're going to be able to take that money and maybe put it into a little bit of advertisement, put it into, fun things for the .p community, put it into maybe helping out members of Defense of the Patients where we see fit. It's a great thing, and I just want to say thank you. I'm definitely humbled by the response. Proud and I talked about it just a little bit, and then all of a sudden we received a lot of donations. This is something that does directly help Defense of the Patients grow. This is not something that helps us as show hosts necessarily, buy a cup of coffee or anything. This is to make sure that our community can continue growing. And money helps. That's just an unfortunate fact. I wish we could do everything for free, but some things cost money, and we are happy to pay for them. And it's great that you guys are enjoying the content to the point where you're willing to put your hard-earned money toward this podcast. So I just thanks a whole lot. It's pretty crazy to see the rush of patrons. Know that we are very close. We're like $12 away from reaching our first goal, which will be 2 episodes a month, which are Patreon exclusives, which means if you're a donor, you will get 2 episodes that other people won't. So you'll be able to hear me rant about how garbage Medusa is or something for an hour. I don't know what the episode structure will be like. It'll probably have all 4 of us on it.
Anyway,
just a big thank you. I don't know. It was really cool to see. iTunes, another one, also humbled. My God, they're coming through so quick. We've got a couple to read today, and wow, they're coming in quick. This is something that I'm going to reiterate one more time before reading them. This allows more people to find us. This is a great free option for helping Defense of the Patients. If you have listened to our content and want to give back, this is a great way to do it for free. Finding us on iTunes and leaving a review. With that being said, I'll read our 2 most recent reviews. It says, favorite podcast by Quick Snoopy YT. He says, this is 5 stars, by the way. This is easily one of my favorite podcasts. I've been listening to this for months. Dota is my favorite game, and I love being able to listen to this podcast wherever I am. School, driving, browsing Reddit, etc. This podcast gives great advice that is suitable for every Dota 2 player while adding some humor throughout the show. Keep it up. Thanks a lot, Quick Snoopy. That was...
You can't listen to this at school. I just don't want to burst you all, but actually it's not allowed on most school grounds, I think. So sorry.
Our next one is GG Well Played, 5 stars by Trogdor202. This is a longer one, but this one's extremely nice. Defense of the Patients is the daily dose.
We should read it then.
Huh? I shouldn't.
So we should read it then if it's nice.
Yeah. Oh, it's super nice.
We should.
Yes.
If it was just long, we wouldn't, but it's nice.
I would read it even if it weren't nice. I always encourage honest reviews. Honest reviews. So
I'd cut you off.
Trogdor 202, you'd be like, okay, enough from the
That's
one
enough.
star.
Let's move on.
So Trogdor 202, Defense of the Patients is the daily dose of Dota 2 podcasting that this community sorely needs. Right up front, one of my highest personal compliments I can pay this fine piece of programming is the simple fact .p produces consistent and quality content. These guys save my sanity every single commute. Every weekday, a unique show is produced. No other Dota 2 podcast has the dedication and obvious passion this team does. These guys are the friendly neighborhood podcast boys that any fan of the game can relate to. Whether a casual Dota 2 player, a total noob, a seasoned veteran, a mid or feed madman, an esports fanatic, or everything in between, this podcast will appeal to you. One of my favorite things about the hosts of this show is their obvious chemistry with one another. Roland, Cyphus, Proud, Ursinity, and friends put together amazing content, and their humor, wit, banter, and occasional tilted raging toward whatever recent OP meta heroes provide day in and day out entertainment. The community they have built is friendly and welcoming. .p is what the Dota 2 community has been needing in podcasting. GG Well Played, easy 5 stars, and I would add a 6th to make up for the much discussed and infamous Ursinity 4-star review. These guys are awesome. Commended. Trogdor, thank you so much. Yeah, that means a ton to us. So, leaving an iTunes review.
My feelings.
Yeah, and yes, of course, we can all go back to Homestart Runner, where we all, or not we all, but I definitely loved, and I love your name.
Literally everyone
loved it. You would love it. I'm sure it's somewhere archived on the internet still. I don't know if it's still going or not, but that was definitely...
It's still there.
It was definitely a fun thing.
They were going to start it again. They were definitely going to start it again. And then they put out a couple, and then I hadn't heard from it since. Because there was like, everyone's like, oh man, Homestar's coming out again. And they're like, you know what? I don't really care. But that's cute. It's nice.
Also, Tuesday Q&A is recorded on Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern. You can... call in live. We do this live on Twitch that I mentioned earlier, twitch.tv/.ptv, where you can ask Ursinity or myself a question. And every week we give away a $20 Steam gift card to somebody who calls in. We randomly give it away. So definitely call in. All you have to do is join the Discord and say, hi, I want to call in and ask a question on Tuesday Q&A, and we'll get you all lined up. It's a fun way to interact with the community, have a live show, and have Ursinity Babylon about Babylon. Because I'm sure he knows a lot about that, being a history major. And then Wednesdays are in-houses. They're a blast. They start at 9 p.m. Eastern as well. You can join up against other .p folk and see how well you do. We have a high skill lobby. We have 2 lower skill lobbies. I think the high skill lobby is technically like 3.5k and above. And then for people who aren't of that skill, there's 2 other lobbies open for you to play, to captain, to try and win arbitrary points that don't get you anything. But at the end of the season, we do give away $150 in Steam gift cards and other goodies that Grouty graciously gives away. Grouty does run that. Grumbo, we often refer to him, or Gruton with my Growlid. And YouTube. Proud's been putting some videos up. I'm about to put some videos up.
Haven't put anything up in a long time.
I'm still plugging it. I'm still plugging it. I just
I've like one Lone Druid video.
I just downloaded Premiere. I downloaded Premiere, and I'm making .p highlights of .p players. So if you have a game that you absolutely stomped in or absolutely lost in or thought something was funny and you want it noted, go ahead and direct message me in Discord. That is Roland, of course, in Discord. Give me match ID and a timestamp, and I will add it to the .p highlight video that I'm going to make them as often as I can. I'm still working my way around Premiere and learning it, but I'd say expect about one a week where I will go through a number of games from people in the .p community and highlight them as best I can. With all that being said, big thank you once again. To bring it full circle, I am definitely going to use the word again, humbled to be able to do this for...
Holy shit, are we done?
Yeah, we're done.
For so fucking long.
I know. The plugs were long this time, but, hey. Long plugs, but big humble from me. Thank you guys so much. So without any further ado, this is Roland for Proud. Just saying thank you. Thank you.